Hello, and welcome to the Healing Dreams Project, exploring projective dream work for your health and wholeness. Our hosts are Billy Ortiz and Dr. Royce Fitz. I am the producer, Viviana, and today we will not have Billy with us as she is continuing on her hiatus, her little vacation, shall we say. And today we have the great pleasure of having with us a wonderful, talented, brilliant, beautiful friend and a star in the dream community. We have today with us Kelly Sullivan Walden. She's the international best-selling author of 7 oracle decks and 10 books. Her latest is New York City's Big Book Awards. A crisis is a terrible thing to waste, which was recommended by none other than Shirley MacLaine. As a celebrity dream analyst with an interfaith doctorate degree, she contributes to Insider Magazine, hosts the Kelly Sullivan Walden Show podcast, and is rumored to be the love grandchild of Carl Jung and Lucille Ball. Isn't that
I'll never tell.
fantastic? Oh, welcome, Kelly. Dr. Kelly, should we say, right?
No, Kelly. Hi, Viviana and Royce, and hello, Billy out there. It's great to be back with you guys. It's been about a year, I think.
I think so. I was maybe more, Royce. What do you think?
So I'm going to stutter. It was about a year ago that we did
Yeah.
this. Yes.
We don't have to be precise.
Yeah.
Ish. I just like to add an ish to everything, and then I'm covered.
Yeah, that's what I do a lot. My dream calculator is frantically going backwards to try to figure all of that out.
I walked into an esoteric fun store that I go to in Santa Cruz because I teach at UC Santa Cruz. And I came across your cards.
You did?
Yes. And I saw them.
Which cards?
I saw your name and I said,
what cards? Do you know?
Well, I didn't know you had 7 of them, so I didn't pay super close attention as to which ones they were. But I was just thrilled that I saw you there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy. That makes me happy.
Yay. Yeah. And also since I follow you on Instagram, I saw that you were in France lately practicing your French.
Oui. C'est vrai.
With a big question mark.
Beaucoup de practice. But yeah, I've got a long ways to go, but I have been practicing.
That phrase about the cows in the living room or something?
Oh, yes. So for like 200 days leading up to my trip, I'd been every day on Duolingo doing a tiny practice a day, like sometimes 3 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes. And they would teach all these things like, how are you? Hello. How are you today? There is a cow in my garden, and now there's a cow in my bedroom. It's a problem. I'm like, that is the most bizarre thing to teach a new French learner. And then sure enough, I get to France, and right outside my cute little guest house is a cow. And it like could have so easily walked right into my room. So I'm like, oh my God, that was a very useful phrase. Il y a une vache dans ma chambre. C'est un problème.
That was fantastic. I loved that.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Moo or moo?
Moo.
Moo. Yeah. With a lot of attitude. Moo.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, what else have you been up to in this past year that we should know about?
It's flown. Well, this year has mostly been, I would say, characterized by my book, Crisis is the Terrible Thing to Waste, coming out. It came out last January, and I feel like I'm still promoting it. I'm still doing things to promote, as Royce knows. It's a kablam kind of a thing. And you know too, Viviana, you've got a book out, don't you?
No,
Or
I'm
maybe
I'm
I'm
in the process of writing it. I'm
yes,
halfway
okay.
through, so
Okay,
I'm getting
She
it.
well,
does she does
let
have
it
music out there, CDs
yes,
and
yeah.
Well, I do have a
audios.
poetry book, but yeah, anyway,
Mhm,
that was
Okay,
a long
that's a
time ago.
book. That's a book. But it's this book has been kind of a big Bertha book. It's this one had a lot I put there's a lot of skin in the game, a lot of soul, a lot of blood, guts, tears, and some dreams. But mostly I'd say I've been kind of following the breadcrumbs where I need to go. I mean, if there's been a lot of opportunities that this book has opened up, and it's been incredibly healing. Um, it feels like a lot of the things that I had been tap dancing around and trying to
mhm,
hide, and I didn't want anybody to know about me. I decided to just put it all out there
Mm,
so I don't have to spend any time running and hiding and tap dancing. So it's a
mhm,
relief. It feels like I don't want to die now at all anytime soon, but I could die. And if I did, it would
mhm,
be with a big smile on my face. I feel like I've done
mhm,
it. I've put it all out there. And
mm,
hopefully it is healing for people. Because there's something
mhm,
about espousing kind of the wisdom I know about dreams. And then there's a whole other animal about kind of talking about the stories that led to the wisdom and the breakdown, breakthrough, difficult times that cracked me open to being able to feel and sense what I feel is like golden wisdom that's worth sharing. So the backstory behind the wisdom is harder to tell for the ego, for my ego, but rewarding in the end because it's like, oh, I can walk my talk and not feel like a fraud.
mm,
Billy, that's really touching how you are expressing the theme of who you are and the
Mm,
theme of the book. This piece of how you said, I am being seen now. I don't
mm-hmm.
have to dance around this. I've danced around
Yeah.
for a lot of my life. You know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
using the projective language. I've danced around
Yeah.
a lot of these issues for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
my life. And now I'm putting myself out there. And the way I experience you doing that is with deep authenticity. And this is the part that draws us to you
Mm,
because there's a bridge. You model what this is like to be real in the world, not perfect,
mm-hmm.
not um, fancy, not
Mm-hmm.
in any way to try uh, to distract people from the truth, but to make your heart known. And that is the bridge. That is the bridge for us to move towards health, healing,
Yeah.
wholeness, and wisdom. And
Oh, thank you for that. And I know you know of what you speak. Your book is very similar. I mean, you lay it all out there in your book
mhm,
too. You don't pull any punches. You don't there's
mhm,
no
mhm,
sugar filter around. I mean, and to me that is so endearing. And I appreciate it so much, but it seems like it's like there's different themes for different chapters in life. It feels like the very first chapter of life is just purely authentic because we don't know any better. We don't know how to not be ourselves
mhm,
until we get traumatized and
mhm,
teased and made fun of and threatened and traumatized. And then out
mhm,
of the trauma comes this compensatory behavior, and all the wild dreams are there to kind of navigate, but this compensatory behavior, I know for myself I've got many of them, but one of them is I want you to respect me. This like desire to like prove myself as worthy of respect, as if that would keep me safe from stones being thrown at me and people kicking me off the island. If I could do enough, create enough and bedazzle you enough, then I will be safe. And at some point, that
Mhm.
becomes its own poison. And then it's kind of like, okay, wait, let's go underneath that and figure out and excavate the true self and do the alchemy work. And dreams have been there all along to help to grease the wheels and help to reveal what next is ready to be healed and revealed. And it feels like this chapter I'm in now is about kind of a passion to reveal what's true and to put as much of that up front. And what it feels like now is when people say they love me or they like me, I don't have this barrier in front of my heart that says, yeah, but if you really knew, or, that like you couldn't possibly love me because you only know a tiny fraction and it's all glossy and shiny. So what isn't there to love about that little teeny sliver? But if you knew the whole story, that whole thing. So the imposter syndrome to the max. But putting it out there and waiting for the lightning bolt to strike that hasn't come or didn't come or won't come or hasn't come yet, knock on wood. And if it comes, then so be it.
Mhm.
But there's something like for those, I love that quote, for those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. So, whoever wants to still be my friend after reading my book will then come along. And those who don't, well, bye-bye, don't let the door hit
Said so beautifully.
you.
My experience of what you're saying is that this is the moment or the process of moments, plural, of when the inner and the outer connect,
Yeah.
the inner self and the outer self connect. And
Yeah.
so who you're presenting now
Mm-hmm.
has integration, has authenticity, has realness. And I don't know that I heard you say this, and so I'll just say it is a projection of mine, the
Mm-hmm.
hint of this, which
Mm-hmm.
is when I was 30 years younger or 50 years younger, I wasn't ready to be able to do what I'm able to
Yes,
do now. And so
absolutely.
and so there's a sense of grace. And I
Yeah.
appreciate how you pointed out our dreams have always been calling us, always been beckoning us for
Yeah,
authenticity. And our conscious self can only receive that to which we are ready to receive
absolutely.
and express. So,
Mm-hmm.
yay you, yay us.
I'll say one more thing on that note. It's
Mhm.
it's as if to say that it is the truth that sets us free. It's like when there's a passion for what's true. There's like this passionate exploration. It's almost like being a magpie that's on the search for the true things and like, oh, what's this thing, even if it looks scary and ugly and like, oh,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, what's this,
Mhm.
let's shine some light on this. So it feels like it's an exciting moment in my world. It's a disastrous time in the world, and maybe it always is, but it feels particularly bleak
Mhm.
in many ways. But I also feel that there is, and we all know this, that the inner work that we do, if we want to contribute in a meaningful way, we can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. And if I'm just adding more crazy to the crazy, then that's not helping. So I need to do my inner work. I need to pay attention to my dreams. I need to let them help me heal so that I'm actually bringing a sane, lucid version of myself. So I'm on the hunt for truth, and the more I bravely kind of receive it, even if it's painful at first, it's kind of ecstatic to just keep revealing more layers. And yeah, anyway, that's
What
the path
what
I've been on.
what beautiful modeling for the reader, for the rest of us. Uh,
Mm,
uh, Ecstatic, be real, and more layers. Open
yeah,
us up more.
yeah.
One of the other little big pieces is I love the title. The title is superb. What a what a blessing. A crisis is a terrible thing to waste. I could go on and on about my own version of that. What a powerful group of words to
Thank
invite.
you. I think if it weren't for dreamwork, I don't think I ever could have written a book with that title. I don't think I could ever embrace the crises and the challenges in the way that I have. But in dreamwork, I feel like it's an to me, nightmares have been such an important part of my own journey, and professionally working with clients, I've developed um, a deep, deep reverence for nightmares. And so I could have just as easily said a nightmare is a terrible thing to waste. And I could say, actually, to be very grounded about it, a crisis and a nightmare, those are they're awful things to have. When they happen, they're painful, they're excruciating, they don't feel good, but we don't want to waste them, because that's, I think, the real transformation comes in that place. The first quote I use at the opening of the book is that Carl Jung quote that says something like, um, "We don't become enlightened by chasing figures of light. We become enlightened by making the darkness conscious." And so to so nightmares, difficulty. I mean, it kind of ramped me up to be able to deal then with the difficult things in waking reality that are a bit more dense. And but if you practice in dreams, then it's like, well, you've sharpened the sword. You can use that same sword in waking reality. And the same principles apply, strangely,
Mhm.
Mm,
because it's all a dream. What were you going to
mm.
say, Viviana? I could see something
Oh, well,
percolating over
so
there.
much. I remember that you are a fellow Leo.
I am.
And what I always, yes, and so
Look at, she
Leos,
goes like this for people who can't see. She's like, she's got her hair that is just a mane of lusciousness.
as is yours.
Well, it was until like a week ago.
Oh,
I
I
just
love it.
sliced it.
It's silky, beautiful
Thank
color
you.
and just looks wonderful.
Thank you.
Uh, I resonated with I want you to respect me. That's a Leo if I've never ever heard. Yeah. That's what a Leo wants. And I
Ooh,
don't know your
yeah.
chart, but you Scorpio-ish? Scorpio?
Aquarian moon, and Libra rising.
Oh,
And
okay.
I don't know where the Scorpio is,
Okay.
but last time I was with you guys, you've had many, many shows since then, but I brought up somewhere in the show that there had been some radical bullying in my younger years
I
in school that was,
remember,
I
yes.
remember too.
that even if it's not true, if people threaten that they're going to kill you, you, as a kid, you take it personally. It's as if they, I mean, who knows whether they actually were going to, but on a regular basis, that was there. And it seemed like they wanted to kill me because of the ways that I was being that were not, at least this is my interpretation, that were not respectable. They thought I was, even though I had never kissed a boy, I was a slut, I was a whore.
Mm.
And so if I could get people to respect me, then thus that teasing would have gone away. And of course, that's not true, because there's nothing we can do to avoid these things. There's no manner of high castle wall we can build to make ourselves immune to it. And we don't want to be immune to it. We want to get, I mean, our spirit, I think, wants us to have these difficult moments so that we grow. And but I always thought if I could just get enough respect, that'll solve it. But no. Because I have to respect myself. Turns
Mhm.
out I'm the one whose respect I was looking for. And I was the one reluctant to give it to myself.
Mm,
Until now.
mm.
I'm doing a lot better
And what
today.
changed?
I would say the process of working on the book, A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste, and putting out my stories and looking, like, kind of, to me, there's nothing more healing. I mean, I'm a big therapy girl, and I believe in therapy, and I am a therapist, but I think to take the healing to the next level is to do something creative with it, to write about it, and to polish it into something that could be shared. So there's something about writing this book, polishing it, and turning it into stories that at first I didn't think I wanted to share with anybody. It was just a process for my kind of my own glorified journaling that I shared with a few people, and they were like, "Oh, can I share this with my friends? Can I share? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." So I thought, oh, so ultimately, I think when we can use our pain, it alchemizes into something useful, and then we share it. There, that's healing. That's the top of Maslow's pyramid right there. It's like, oh, there's purpose and meaning in the the losses and the deaths and the attacks and the in the horrors I've been through. I can actually make a difference. I mean, just yesterday, I'll just say this little bit. There's this young woman who I mentor, who has been through more than anybody I know in at such a young age. And I get to mentor her. And now she is taking the things that I've taught her through my book, through these things, and she's reaching out to other young women in prison, foster homes. She's taking it, and I could just, it's like, what? If I hadn't gone through my difficulties, I wouldn't have anything to give her. Nothing. And what I have to give her is legit. And she's taking it and using it and giving this to people that it just feels like, oh my God, there's this cycle. There's a sense of legacy. There's a sense of beauty and
Mhm,
purpose
mhm,
in what
mhm,
at what once upon a time seemed so just shitty,
mhm,
just
mhm.
like the worst thing. So I think it's we all need to know, especially in times like this, that these I mean, there's wars going on right now, and I mean, I don't want it to sound like I'm being trite, but I think I always go back to Viktor Frankl. When all else fails, Viktor Frankl. Like, he found meaning, he found
Thank you.
purpose in what he went
Thank you.
through. And if he could do that going through the Holocaust, then it's like, then we can all do it. So he's my role model at the end of the day. When all else fails, Victor's my guy.
Hey, man, sister. He is my man as well. A-
Yeah.
And I'm touched that he is your model. He,
Yeah.
I remember as a sophomore in college, I read his book, and it's one of the top 3 or 4 books of my life. And
Hmm.
I periodically reread it. And the sense of what you're describing is to create meaning and beauty in the midst of what he was in as a concentration camp, and
Hmm.
how that is it inspires me. My little stuff
Yeah.
doesn't. Yeah. And it's like, this is a way to be authentic in the midst of the beauty and the awfulness of life.
When I reconnected with Viktor Frankl, I had my husband and I were adopting a daughter. This is one of the stories that's in my
Mm.
book, and she died. She was six
Mm.
months old, and she died the night before we were to have her. And we had spent a couple weeks
Mhm.
with her. We had created a whole world that had her in it, and then all of a sudden she was gone, and she drowned. She had somebody was watching babysitting her, and they got distracted on a cell phone and let this baby drown. And it was at that time, it shattered me. I was literally shattered, and I didn't know, I couldn't make sense of it. And it was as if to say, it wasn't just that her name was Tendril. It, it wasn't just that Tendril died. It was God died for me too, because I thought, there is no God. I was a fool. This God, if there is a God, it's a cruel God. It's not a God I'm interested in.
Mhm.
And so all of those things fell apart, in every spiritual tool in my toolbox, and I had many. I tried to use all of them, and they all just seemed like little kid toys. They didn't work. And it was after weeks of just being in this very, very bleak, barely functioning state that somehow I ran across some Viktor Frankl videos, and I could feel little trickles of light coming back in.
Mhm.
And then I just went down the rabbit hole and couldn't stop watching and reading, and I found myself coming back to life. So all the great avatars and teachers of spiritual truth couldn't touch my pain.
Mhm.
None of them. It was Viktor
Mhm.
Frankl, that his work that
Mhm.
spoke to me in such simple language, but just and basically, what there was one little piece that he said, and this is about the title of his book, Man's Search for Meaning. He said that we cannot help but assign meaning to the things that happen to us. So if we're suffering, by definition, that means that we've made up a meaning that is disempowering to us. That means that if we want to transform it, then we need to look for how we might change what this means. So I thought, okay, the meaning I made up about Tendril dying is that there is no God. I made up a pretty shitty meaning that was having an effect on me. So I said, well, and because he said, make anything up. It doesn't matter if it could be scientifically proven or not, just experiment. So I thought, I have a dreaming mind. I can play. I'm like, well, what if Tendril was an angel? 2 weeks with an angel is better than no weeks with an angel. Just because I didn't get a lifetime with her doesn't mean that the weeks weren't valid. Some people don't get even a day with an angel, much less 5 minutes. Oh, that makes me feel a little better. Ooh, what if in 6 months she accomplished all that she came to Earth to do and she was complete? Maybe most people have to live 80, 90 years to do what she did in 6 months. She had an incredible first 6 months of her life. I mean, she was abandoned because she was born with a double cleft palate in a little town in India, and she had been through a lot, and she had brought all these communities together
Mhm.
to rally around saving her. So these stories that I made up, I thought, these make me feel better. I'm gonna latch on to that story. She's an angel, and I got to be the mother of an angel for 2 weeks. That little story, I just grabbed it, and you couldn't wrestle it out of my hands. And that started to give me life. So it just was astounding, the meaning we give the difficult things and the nightmares that happen to us in our waking life and in our dreams. They will make or break us. If they're breaking us, then it's up to us to create another version of the story.
Mhm.
And yeah, I could go on and on and on, but
I love that. Wow. Wow. Mate, you made an angel. Mother, you were the mother of an angel. You are the mother of this amazing angel named Tendril. It's so, so beautiful.
somebody was in my house the other day, just a guest that came through, and they must have said the word tendril like 10 times. It's a rare word. It's not a word that comes up every day, especially maybe in the spring when you see little tendrils, but not in the autumn. Like people just don't use that word. But I was like, hello, tendril. You're here. You're with me. Like that's just, yeah, she's around. She's profoundly around.
I wonder if you have a nightmare that you might want to share.
Oh gosh. Oh, a nightmare. Let's see, a recent. I mean, I have some big ones. Well, yeah, I mean, do you want one that I have worked already, or
Up to you.
what
And we
kind
don't
of
have
night?
to. It's just that you brought up
Well,
nightmares.
I
And I don't know
did.
if we've ever done nightmares.
Well, we have done some nightmares, yes.
Well, your nightmares, yes.
Yeah, that's true. I want to compliment Viviana on that
Hmm.
spontaneous wonder about
Hmm.
doing this,
Hmm.
and Kelly's your sharing of a waking life nightmare of the
Hmm.
loss of a daughter, and
Hmm.
and this awesome connection that I experience you doing with the pained wisdom of Viktor Frankl, how he holds this ability up to look and recognize waking life nightmares and to do our best to respond to these nightmares out of our soul,
Mm,
to do do our best to create meaning and beauty out of something that does not make logical sense.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if there is a nightmare now in
Mm-hmm.
dreamer's choice, bring
Yeah.
an old one up that's already been ironed and processed and will always have more ironing to do, or something that's brand new that's just raw.
You know what? I mean, I've got a couple that I've worked and worked and worked that I would love to share with you if there's time, but there is a newish one that's wasn't a horrible nightmare, but it feels like it's kind of related to what we're talking about, and I haven't done any work on it. So it might be interesting
Mhm.
to share with you. Okay.
We know it will be
If you're open.
interesting.
I mean, I don't know.
We just
I'm,
want you to feel free to share it.
yeah, I feel so
However,
free. I feel
uh,
so free with you
okay,
guys.
okay.
Okay, who is this guy? Okay, so um I'm at a party and there's this really cute guy, like swaggery guy, who's in a fight with his ex.
Mm.
And he takes off in this like really cool convertible, and I'm in the convertible, like in the passenger seat, and he kidnaps his daughter, and his daughter is in the back seat, and it's an Audi. Somehow I know it's an Audi. I don't know Audis, so I feel like that's a piece. And the little girl is in the back seat, and the wife is yelling, and we're like, the car is driving away, and I'm kind of an accomplice because I'm going along with this, and there's this woman yelling to get her daughter back, and she yells to the little girl, there's this little escape hatch in the back that you can get out, and she was trying to get out, but it didn't. It was the car was already in motion, so she was with us in the back seat. Next thing I know, we have this amazing montage of things that we do together that are so much fun. We go to the Mardi Gras. And there's like there's masks, and it's colorful, and this little girl is now completely with me and this guy, her father. And we're having, I can't even remember all the it was like fun, 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 and finally it's the end of the day, and we're on this pier, and the guy who was driving jumps out of the car, and I have to steer the car from the passenger seat and try to get my foot over the edge to find the brake so that we don't like go off into the ocean. And I finally managed to stop the car and prevent any damage. And while he jumped out, he ran and got his. Sorry, this is so convoluted. It's almost over, I promise. He runs out to get his ex wife because. And I get out of the car and I see the ex-wife running to the car like oh, like to get her child. And I hug the little girl like to say goodbye, and I'm crying as I hug her goodbye. And she's telling her mom about the most amazing day that she had. And and the only thing I could really remember was that we had gone to Mardi Gras, but I was saying goodbye to her, and I just loved her so much, and I had just given her all the love I had for that day. And I knew it was right that she go back to her mother. And that's the end of the dream.
Mm. When did I have this dream?
This was a couple days ago.
Mhm.
This was, and I called this dream Kidnapping the Kid. November 5th? Yesterday.
Mhm.
Yesterday.
Um, Viviana, you go ahead if you have something percolating. I don't want to accidentally step on your dream toes here. Okay.
I'm wondering if I could hear some descriptors of the little girl. Was she blonde? Was she brunette? Was she Asian? What was she
Right.
wearing?
So she didn't look at all like Tendril. Tendril was Asian. She was blonde. She was, in fact, Dana, my husband, and I had watched a little bit of a television series called Designated Survivor. And the daughter in that show was like the daughter in my dream. So she looked like she could be my daughter.
And as my daughter, then that just it would make me feel that it was perhaps calling in my inner child,
Mm-hmm.
especially since she
Mm,
looked like me.
mm-hmm.
And also, it would bring up feelings of wanting a child, perhaps, or bonding with a child and then have it be taken away. So in a way, an abandonment of the child, abandonment of myself as a child
Mm-hmm.
when I was a child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think
It
there's some, sorry.
No, go
No,
ahead.
go please, go Royce.
So I'm aware of the dynamics of the dream. It starts out in my dream. This is a horrific experience. I'm at this party, in
Yeah.
quotes, and I see this man and woman, and they are exes
Mm-hmm.
arguing. My projection is they're vehemently arguing,
Mm-hmm.
and that causes lots of anxiety and reactivity in me. And then I see this child that uh, so I feel protective
Mm.
of this um, little one,
Mm-hmm.
and and the my projection about the male energy in this dream is that there is a this is my projection, a kind of a narcissistic
Mm-hmm.
entitlement that is
Mm.
exploding
Mm.
out, that in our maledom world, that is a prevalent illness that we all have to cope with. And so this shows up in my dream,
Mm.
and the woman, the mother, the two X's, the female, this uh, conflict says, in my experience, says I feel helpless. I don't know how to deal with this vehement rage, and I'm also going to try to protect my daughter. And okay, and so
Mm-hmm.
then this Audi piece. I'm
Mm.
curious about
Mm-hmm.
uh, an Audi, so I would like the dreamer to kind of just free associate about that.
An Audi. Well, there's the word play about like it's out, like an Audi belly
Mm.
button, and out.
Ah,
If something's out, you're being
right.
outed.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
And it was a convertible, so it was everything was out in the open.
Mm.
And they're nice cars, they're expensive cars,
Mhm, mhm,
they're well made, they're
mhm,
sturdy.
mhm,
Um, and yet there's this convertible aspect of vulnerability, and then there's this
mhm,
sturdiness
mhm,
of this car. And then it was interesting, this little child escape thing, like instead of the seats that would go down as like a, it was an interesting thing that doesn't exist. So that's kind of, to me, that's an anomaly, like, wow,
mhm,
this
mhm.
place where a kid could get out. um
Get out of my Audi.
get out of my Audi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It in the dream, does the woman, is she in the car also?
No, she's
So
in
she's
both
frantically,
instances, she's out of the car running
yeah,
towards the car. In both scenes she's trying to get to the car. Yeah, at the beginning and at the end it's bookended with her
right.
coming toward the car.
Mhm, mhm,
I could say there's just one thing that's bubbling up that I'm noticing is the nature of being in the passenger seat versus being in the driver's seat. My husband and I joke about this because I've said I need to stop being so passive. And anytime I say that, everybody that hears it laughs
Mhm.
because I'm not passive. I tend to be a driver, and yet I'm not always a driver. When it came to Tendril, there was if I'm going to connect the dots, we there was like a 2 week period. So there was 2 weeks that we were with her, and then there was 2 weeks that we weren't with her. And I had this very strong instinct to stay. This was all happening in Florida. We live in LA, but we were told you have to go back to LA to settle your affairs, get everything ready and then come back. And I knew, and I became kind of like a little kooky about it. And Dana was saying like you got to rein that in. If you like, you can't let people see that because they're going to be like, nope, you're not worthy of her if you're going to behave like this. And yet I'm like, but I know we can't leave. And I can't just smuggle her back because she's not mine yet. But I wanted to. And it's like that. It was already like a maternal protective energy, but it was too soon. I didn't have the right to do it. So I wasn't in the driver's seat and things went awry. And had I been able to if I was able to be the driver, things would have gone differently. And yet that wasn't to be. So I feel like there's a relationship between not being in the driver's seat in this situation as well. And it was also not mine. She wasn't mine, and Tendril really wasn't mine, wasn't to be mine. But I got a little bit of time with her in both the dream and in the Tendril. I got a little bit of sweet, sweet, sweet time, precious time. And then it wasn't mine. And maybe that's how it is, even if you're the mother of a child for 60 years. It's not enough, it's precious, and then you have to send them back to where they
Yes.
come from, or you go back.
I find myself imagining this as a collective dream in
Hmm.
addition to being a personal dream.
Yeah.
Um, so the driver's seat in our stereotypical culture is is oftentimes the wounded male, the hierarchy, the
Mm,
patriarchy.
mm,
And in my dream, I
mm.
have to negotiate that all the
Yeah.
time. And and as I
Hmm.
am uh, negotiating that, I feel also the kind of terror of having to go along with that game in order to do my best with very limited means to
Yeah.
protect the inner self or the child in the dream. And
Mm,
so in my waking nightmare of losing my daughter, Tendril, and having to navigate the, the multiple layers of systems that were not empathetic or not empathic about how to walk through this,
hmm.
I would go crazy, and
Hmm.
my mate was saying, you can't act like this in front, and it's
Yeah.
like, of course, and that's what happens to us when we are out of control, when the system, the toxic system is making decisions that are not taking the person into consideration. And so
Mm.
I will go crazy. That's a pretty normal, healthy reaction. If I don't go crazy, if I don't feel crazy, I ain't healthy. So I
Mm.
feel like that's a kind of an awareness of me and the dream not judging me
Mm.
inside the dream.
Mm. That's a beautiful layer. I really appreciate that. And it gives me the fodder to be able to then go to the opposite end and say it's it's life to not be in the driver's seat and to make, like, I feel like my life has been about making the best of what comes to me. I mean, in
Mhm.
both instances, Tendril came to me. She kind of fell in my lap. I
Mhm.
didn't go after. And with this dream, this
Mhm.
child jumped in, like she was in the car. Like I didn't have to go after it. It's what came to me, and I made the best of what was there. I didn't fight them in either instances. I just, I mean, I have an idea of how things should go if I'm in control, but maybe I did the best. Maybe I like how I am in that dream. That I took what showed up, and I had gave her the day of her life, and I had the best day of my life. And then there was nothing more I could do, using like what I'm given and to the fullest extent that I can, and
Mhm.
then letting go.
There's
That
some real beauty. Yeah, go ahead, Vivian, please.
that just reminds me of what happened with Tendril
Yeah.
Mhm.
and me. I gave her the best 2 weeks of my
Mm-hmm.
life. I became the mother of this sweet, sweet angel. And if I could just, yes, I was in the passenger side, but at one moment, I
Mm-hmm.
was needing to steer the car to avoid going into the
Yes.
ocean.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. From the passenger side, I extended my leg, extended my arm, and kind of contorted so that it was in both. Yeah, I was doing everything I could from the passenger side to have things turn out in a way that was good and where nobody got harmed. And I accomplished it. I wasn't just a passive passenger. Yeah,
What
that's
I
interesting.
what I love about that is my friend Billy always says when the ocean's involved, it
Mm,
is a it's like tapping into the collective unconscious
mm-hmm,
and where other people may have been in a similar situation, just trying to save or gain control over something that could be death um, threatening.
mm-hmm.
And in the dream, I need to take charge. It kind of symbolizes if this were my dream, it take charge of some part of my life to prevent myself from going off course
Off
in a
the deep
way.
end.
Mm,
And isn't it
mm,
interesting? There you sit in the deep end, and it's not so bad.
mm.
It's kind of beautiful.
If you know how to swim, if I knew how to swim.
Mm-hmm.
I
There's
just
a
want
sense. Yeah, go, please.
to no, just more thoughts on the Audi and the convertible. Um, when I sit in a convertible, I have this sort of desire for freedom or for change, and so for me, it symbolizes a time of exploration or adventure, a grand adventure.
Yes.
And the fact that I was able to give this little girl just in real life, I think I described it as sweet, sweet, sweet time. And in
Mm-hmm.
the dream was fun, 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 fun time.
Totally. Like almost like we were three outlaws, just like
Mhm.
Bonnie and Clyde and the kid.
Mhm. Mhm.
And yeah, and it was just like living to the max
Max.
in
Mm.
each, and it was colorful. I mean, Mardi Gras, what could be more colorful
Mhm.
than that? And just body and like irreverent and but fun and
Mhm.
yeah,
And
I used
bringing,
to I used to live in New Orleans
you did.
and went through several Mardi Gras, and yes, and it was a yeah this time when uh, barriers are down, and
Yeah.
the healthy energy that explodes that during these weeks of parades and celebrations, and finally on Mardi Gras Day, the explosion of of, of of outrageous play,
Mhm.
and how that opens up and allows the steam to be expelled from all of the shoulds and the oughts of life.
The
How
oddies, the
yeah,
odds.
the
The hot.
oughts. Yeah.
Oddie.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing.
And Mardi Gras happens. It's Fat Tuesday before Good Friday. Is that true?
Before
Before
be,
Good Wednesday?
no,
What?
Carnival
before
time.
Ash Wednesday. Yeah.
Ash Wednesday. So
Yeah.
it's like
So
the
it moves.
blowing off the steam
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
you're in
Our
this
our
really,
last chance to sin
yeah.
boldly, as Martin Luther would say. If you're going to sin, sin boldly. So that's our sin. We go out and let it all hang out. And then we go to mass at midnight and put ashes on our forehead.
Mm. And there's a similar energy to in some way, not exactly the same, but Dia de los Muertos that just
Mhm,
passed. I was just at a
mhm.
ceremony, and it is also colorful and also so strange and so beautiful and like a celebration, and it's somber at the same time. And yeah, I at
So
Dia
I
de los Muertos, I got my car impounded, and so that's a whole other thing about the car and not being in control of where I was. And so I'm not
mhm,
exactly sure how that ties in, but it feels like Dia de los Muertos and Mardi Gras. I could see how they could be filed together in my brain somehow.
mhm. Well, looking for waking life influences, that's a really uh, wonderful wonder to how our waking life affects how we dream. The dream maker is always going to borrow whatever is needed to create these amazing stories and movies inside of us.
Yeah.
Tendril passed, right? So,
Yeah.
and Dia de los Muertos is the honoring our loved ones who have passed.
Yeah.
And this dream very much, if it, you know, it calls in that tendril energy for me. I mean,
Mm.
it was definitely a little girl in the back
Mm-hmm.
seat. It's
Mm-hmm.
the for me it symbolizes innocence, or my innocence, or my tendrils innocence of an extreme vulnerability, a need and a need for me to be able to care and protect, and in
Mm-hmm.
this dream to live it up to the fullest. And yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
thank
that's
you.
where I can see that the Dia de los Muertos and the Mardi Gras element are connected very much
Mhm,
for me
mhm,
as well,
mhm,
because it's bringing in this dream and the waking life, and it's all kind of coming together in one big soup.
Mm-hmm. And their ceremonies, they're celebratory, their life is loud and big, and for living during these times, it's about like kind of being alive and celebrating the nature of life, whether on this side or the other side. And even a little synchronicity about tendril that came, um I write about this in the book. Somebody reached out to me and asked me if I knew anything about Tibetan dream practices, and I was about to just respond with a curt no. But I
mhm,
thought that would be rude, so I did a little research, and this is and I found an article that Robert Moss had written on Tibetan dreaming, and in the article, in the first paragraph, was the word tendril, and he said that it's a practice that through lucid dreaming, you create a connecting vine from the other world to the world beyond this one and to this world, and so that you become like you create that bridge. And it's called like there's something about the tendril that is what you're to envision, and that came up shortly after this. And I reached out to Robert Moss to ask him about this, and that's how we became friends, is through that article. And so that was kind of extraordinary, that this tendril, this link between realms, dreams and awake, the living and the so-called dead. And so, and I'm looking at Viviana's background, and it just feels like these sort of tendrils that are kind of going from the above to the below and to the water and to the up to the light. So I don't know exactly where all of this lands, but I'm feeling very juicy and energized by this dream. And I'm feeling like I'm all the parts. I definitely am the mother that
Mhm.
is like terrified of losing and grateful that she has her back because and the little girl is me, and then I'm the masculine that just kind of
Mhm.
can drive a car off a cliff if I want to, and then abandon it and walk away and be like, I'm going to do something else. And then I'm Kelly that is in the passenger seat but also in the
Mhm.
driver's seat, or trying my best to rein it all in and make the best of the crazy shit show and turn it into something beautiful.
Mhm. I marvel at how I am able to own all of these elements in the dream within myself, and how that means I can integrate this, and I'm ready to integrate it, or I wouldn't have the dream, or I wouldn't remember the dream. I might have the dream. However, I do remember this dream from just yesterday, and and the beauty of the word tendril uh, permeates this dream imagery as this does my waking life. And even in reaching out to Robert Moss, I saw the tendril of
Moss.
some, or, yeah, 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 yeah. And yeah, thank you. I hadn't picked up on that
That was
one.
Viviana. I saw your mouth.
Yeah, good. Maybe I should be quiet and just let this unfold.
No, no, you're a part of
Well,
the,
yeah, no,
yes,
so
big
the tendril that I saw in the writing, and that caused me to have a tendril to reach out to Robert Moss, who represents tendrils because in his own work, uh, one of his books is called The Secret Life of Dreams, something like that. And
mm-hmm.
it's a secret history of dreams.
Secret history of dreams,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And all of the tendrils throughout history.
Mm. And my favorite book of his is Dreaming the Soul Back Home.
Mm.
Like getting by dreaming and being connected to the dream, the soulfulness. It's like we become an attractive place for the soul to want to inhabit. So the soul comes back, any parts that had gone missing.
Calling back, calling back. Wow. I'm I'm drawn also again to the conflicts that happen, calm down, happen again in the dream, these bookends of conflicts that when my in my dream, I finally get, I think, to the pier or somewhere, and then the mother is rushing over to take the daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and in my dream anyway, there is this unresolved conflict between the driver and the mother, the male driver and the mother, about the daughter. And so that just hangs there, making me wonder how I know where I was going a little
Mm-hmm.
while ago, and
Mm-hmm.
how in the midst of this I am able to be centered and focused in the midst of this crazy behavior, threatening behavior. I'm able to be centered, and
Mm.
that tends to be
Mm. Mm.
how I yearn to be. My
Mm-hmm.
presence in the midst of conflicts, in the
Yeah.
midst, it can be healing.
I love that. And I love when you said the peer, the word play of peer is also the kind of being on the equal footing. We're peers. I'm
Oh
peers
yes, yes.
with the mother, with the father, and he abandoned the car to go get the mother. So it's like his intent was
Okay.
good, even though
Hmm. Hmm.
he was trying to like make amends and try to
Hmm.
do
Hmm.
good, but he,
Hmm.
but it was erratic. And yeah, I was pretty calm.
So my projection inside of this right now is my presence brought about a kind of healing resolve in this drama.
Mm.
And so by the time the dream was wrapping up, the male energy in me
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm.
also experiencing some kind of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was
Mm.
reminded of the chaotic and the narcissistic wounded male in the
Mm.
beginning, and how in the end there is a presence of soothing that calms the
Mm-hmm.
energy down.
Mm-hmm.
That comes from my presence. And I'm able to graciously allow this little child to be embraced by the mother.
Mm. Wow, I so love working with dreams with you guys. It's so expansive and so, whew, there's so many. I mean, I just feel like it went from being this big to being
Yes.
an ocean. And it does feel interesting. Not all dreams for me resolve in the dream. And this one kind of did. I mean, I didn't get to have, there wasn't like this, it did feel like everything was where it was supposed to be. Like the mother was meant to be reunited with the daughter. And I got to say goodbye and I got to kind of just love her up, and she did too. It was beautiful. So it was like it was so I feel like in some way there's layers in me because I don't have children that I birthed in this life. I've got a stepdaughter and a stepson, and they're amazing. And I know that was always kind of a little bit of an ache or an owie or an outie for me. Not so much that it's taken me out, but there was a bit of societal conditioning like I should have done this and it didn't happen. But I've mothered in my own way. I've gotten to mother maybe in shorter spurts, like and not over the long haul. And my short spurts have been very sweet. I haven't also had to endure the years and years of torture that children can put mothers through. Some of my friends have been tortured by their
Yeah.
children. And
Yeah.
so, and yet, when there's the breakthrough on when it gets to the other side, it's all worth it, of course. But
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I'm feeling good about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that there's some healing tendrils that go out that aren't just personal for me. I hope this is transpersonal in some way.
But we find that dreams tend to be that way. That's what's so beautiful about sharing them and seeing them from different angles.
Mm.
It's magical. I also don't have children, and I was judging a children's flute competition today, and I'm
Oh,
sobbing at their performances and feeling that nurturing love and yes, you did it, and that was fantastic, that kind of thing. And
yeah.
so I also resonate with my love for children in small spurts,
Yes.
and then being able to sort of maybe intellectually sort of detach,
Mm-hmm.
and also love that I made a huge strong connection as well.
Yes, because I can think of in my past certain women that mothered me in special moments that like impacted me, and they might, it's almost like the mother of the moment. I've thought about this before, like I'm a MOM, a mother of the moment. I've
Mm,
gotten to mother in moments, and because I don't have the day-to-day wear and tear, I'm actually available for those moments with like
Yeah.
the whole Mardi Gras of
Yes.
expression. Like I'm not burned out like, ah, you're fine, I love ya, hurry up, wah, wah. Like there's none of that. So they get my nieces, my nephews, the kids that I mentor, they get Disneyland. And
Well, may I say Disneyland with real quality
y-
underneath this. This is
yeah,
not a superficial gift that I give to
yeah,
all of these children.
correct.
And
Like this,
that,
the yeah,
yeah,
I
this,
get to be a
this,
human Disneyland.
mhm,
Or
Human
just
Mardi Gras.
present, because it's a Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras,
mhm, mhm.
I have it available. And that's something. That's so I feel like this dream is kind of maybe giving me some of that validation in the
Yeah.
it's for whatever little pieces of remnants of something's wrong that I still carry collectively. This feels like it sort of gently offsets that.
In in listening to Viviana's and to your experience, my embracing of this is that this shows me how open hearted I am. I
Mm.
can love these flute players passion, with passion, and I role play and model for them to have that touched in their souls. And as the dreamer, I can open my heart to all of these beings, and they know I love them.
Mm.
And this heals. And this is my gift. This is the best possible. This is the Viktor Frankl in me, to love the best way possible in these circumstances. And I do.
I think Barbara Marx Hubbard, I got to I got to be her last interview before she passed. And I'd like to think that I didn't send her to the other side, but I got to be the last one to have that moment with her. And she
Mhm.
always talked about how this world needs mothers, and mothers come in all different shapes and sizes, in the shape of men and women that have children, women that don't. Like we just those of us who don't choose to have children or didn't have children, we get to mother this world in ways that maybe we couldn't otherwise. And that's a there can be, and it feels like there's going back to purpose. There's I feel like I have a lot to give. Viviana, you've got a lot to give. Royce, you've got a lot to give. You have kids, and you have a lot of feminine energy, a lot of mothering and
Mhm.
fathering,
Mhm.
and it's when we've got a lot to give.
Mhm.
So yay to when those moments occur, and may there be more, and may we be outie and Audi 500. I've said that like I'm outie, like I'm going out. See ya.
Mhm.
Peace outie.
Mhm.
I
Well,
know.
should we arrive at the arbitrary close, as Billy would say? Is there anything that you'd like to add as a closing statement at all, Kelly?
Mm, I just deeply, deeply appreciate your amazing consciousness, your presence, both of you, and your curiosities and your projections and your joining me in this dream and riding side saddle. And it's you have the the amazing blend of those Mardi Gras characteristics of humor and depth and irreverence and reverence, and it's quite stunning. I don't get this very often because I'm often the one holding the space for the dream space, and it's really a gift. So I'm so lucky to get to be in this spot here, and to have worked this dream. And there's all these other things I wanted to talk about with you guys, but
Mhm.
this was perfect. Thank you so much. And Billy, I love you and my heart is with you and I look forward to seeing you one of these days soon.
I think the gift is to have Kelly Sullivan with us. uh,
Mm.
check out her book, A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste, which is an awesome title. I need to go get it right now. I'm going to read it.
And the audio is available,
Yo, yes, with you reading
so
it.
that's a little easier to consume. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. I'm getting the audio
And
because
you're gonna
I
do
want to hear
yours.
you breathe, as Dana said. Stop breathing.
Would you stop? He had to edit. He had to do a lot of edits.
Mhm.
Every time I'd go, okay, he'd be like, "Oh my God, must you?" I'm like, "Yes, I must."
It's part of the flow though, and it's
I found my way of just breathing
inspiring.
in and breathing out as I'm talking, like we do. I mean, we will
Mhm.
sometimes stop to breathe, but most of the time it happens
Mhm.
naturally. So I found my way. This was my first audiobook. Royce, you're going to be an old pro. You've got this. You're going to be so easy.
Well, thank you for that confidence. I want to make a little comment about the dreamer making the audio of that book. As I project into this book, a
Mm-hmm.
crisis is a terrible thing to waste. I have to take deep breaths often. I am I
Mm-hmm.
am carrying the heaviness of my life story,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. Now, does it come across, audio wise as good as it needs to? Probably not.
Mm.
However, this is my authentic soul breathing in and out.
Yeah.
And I also think of this ancient scripture of the sighs and groans of the spirit. I lose words.
Mm.
Words do not speak of that which come through the sighs and groans. So that's,
Mm. Oh. Now we're gonna have to go back. I'm gonna tell Dana, let's do another version where you keep
yeah,
in all the
yeah,
sighs and all
yeah.
the lip smacks and like,
Mhm,
what was I gonna say
mhm.
about it's like
Yeah.
we put it all
Poor
in.
Dana. Yeah.
Yeah,
Put it all
exactly.
in. Yeah.
Yep. Nobody would want to listen to that version, I don't think. But yeah,
Well, they'll
it's
feel that
amazing.
version as they listen and as they read, because
Yeah.
this, again, is a bridge.
I find it interesting to hear your commentary because as a flutist, it's part of what I do. So
Oh.
inspire, inhalate, to
Mm-hmm.
breathe is part. And if actually
Yeah.
the string players in an orchestra are always trying to mimic the wind players and breathing. Like if they do an up bow, it has to
Oh.
be, like they
Oh,
actually breathe
interesting.
to try to emulate that. So breathing, that's why I said breathing is good. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm,
And there's some of my breath in the audiobook. I don't think it's possible to get it all out, but I mean, I think just
mhm,
the ones in between just to
mhm,
I don't know. We'll see what you think. You be the judge.
mhm,
You let
mhm,
me know. We
mhm.
need to put more breathing in. But I am taking a big deep breath and taking you all in and
Mhm,
thanking you so much for this magic. This is really, really special being with
mhm.
you. Thank you for doing this show that's actually
You're
therapy
welcome.
for Kelly. I appreciate it so much.
Ellie, where can somebody get in touch with you?
My website is kellysullivanwalden.com. And if that's too hard to spell, they can go to ihadthestrangestdream.com.
Hadthestrangestdream.com. I love that. And Royce, where can somebody get in touch with you?
Go to roycefitts.com, and I'm a spiritual counselor and dream worker. And as both of you have generously alluded to, my own book is called The Geography of the Soul.
Geography of
And
the soul.
And if you go to geographyofthesoul.com, there will be all of the information. So thank you. And Viviana.
Viviana can be reached
Yeah.
at my website, which is viviana.org, viviana.org, where I am a musician, a flutist by trade, and dreamer, astrologer, tarot card reader by night. And that URL is viviana.org/magic. So that
Backslash magic?
magic.
Oh my God, of course. Wow. Va va voom.
Ah, yeah. So, you, the listener, if you have a dream that you'd like to share with us, we do have a dreamer hotline, and that number is 720-573-9195. Again, 720-573-9195. Please remember to like and subscribe and share and talk your dreams. Share them at breakfast, remember them, jot them down, incubate them. We are the Healing Dreams Project podcast. Until next time, happy dreaming. Recording.
So we're going to do an addendum with Kelly Sullivan Walden about several things. And about a year ago, Kelly was gracious to come on our show as one of our first, certainly one of the earliest guests for the Healing Dreams Project podcast. And we spontaneously asked her to share a dream. And she had this dream about Dick Clark. And so, as I have carried that dream over the year, and
Wow.
I know, so I want to say it hasn't been one that I thought a whole lot about every day. As my book launch was coming up, and I wanted Kelly to be a part of the book launch, and she was willing to. Yeah. She's holding up the book, The Geography of the Soul. Yay, thank you. I started to wonder, why is it that I was drawn to ask Kelly to see if she could be a part of it? And I thought, I don't know her very well. I just know about her, about Kelly and the work that she does in the world.
Mm.
And then I remembered this Dick Clark dream. Well, okay, so I'm going to start a different paragraph and go with another important piece. About 6 or 7 months ago, when I had sent the reader's proof to Kelly, I did so with a bit of fear and trepidation, like, this is a busy, busy soul. And you graciously said, yeah, I'll read the book. And I thought, Kelly is a really good woman, a really good
Mm.
soul, and she'll
Mm.
probably say a nice thing about it, gracious, because that's who she is. And the book, I believed in the book, and I thought the book would be attractive. However, when I got the endorsement from you, Kelly,
Mm.
I was driving on Buckley Space Force Base, illegally looking at my email that popped up, and I thought, oh no, I'm on it. This is federal law here. And so I pulled over and I saw, oh, it's an email from Kelly. And I thought, yeah, well, I'm nervous. She'll say some nice things. Well, what was said brought tears to my eyes. And it's like, how,
Mm.
it's rhetorical. How could she see and hear and read my heart like she expressed in her endorsement. Then I listened. I listened to the audio endorsement. And again, I pulled over, tears running down.
Mm.
And how beautiful and humorous her endorsement verbally was, because she said, if you hear some noise, this is me fixing breakfast. And so she's puttering around. I
Sounds
don't know
in the
if you're
kitchen.
frying eggs or whatever. And yet the words were so touching to me. And the affirmations, again, of here is a person, a soul that really gets my book. And that lifted me. It was one of
Mm.
those moments of authenticity and affirmation that I wasn't expecting to have. And so I thank you
Mm.
for that.
You, mm. I'll just go ahead. I want you to finish, but I'm,
Yeah. And now back to Dick Clark. I thought this Dick Clark dream that Kelly had a year ago, that she playfully introduced to us as we all worked on the dream. And I kept thinking, what there's something there in that dream
mm,
about Royce and
mm,
my projections about Kelly. And
mm,
then I began to remember that, Dick Clark is a famous person in
mm.
history, in pop history, in television history. And as he was often called, the oldest teenager in America.
Right, right.
Okay, and so he had a persona that was a lot of fun, and I know he cultivated that for good reason.
Hmm.
And it and and then I think of Kelly. Kelly has this persona of beauty and engagement and reaching out to people and uh, having ways of connecting and conversing with folks in a broad, broad scale.
Mm,
And I thought, okay, in my projection, there's some similarities. And then, this, in a sense,
mm.
famous energy. Okay. So, and then I was driving, contemplating this before the book launch. And then it dawned on me. A long time ago, Jeremy Taylor made a comment about Kelly that said, yes, she is out there and beautiful and has a persona that many people are drawn to. And that's her life's work. And she's real. She's
I
real.
didn't know he said that.
Yes.
What? Wow,
And
that's a huge. Whew.
yeah, well, yeah,
Wow.
it is huge. It's beautiful and huge.
Mm,
And then my experience of Dick Clark and Royce's world, uh, I was involved in Farm Aid with Willie Nelson and Johnny Cougar Mellencamp and the others. And I went to the Farm Aid concert in Indiana in 1990. And there were some good reasons that I went. And I went for some political reasons as well as environmental reasons and as well as passionate reasons for small farms. And I was able, I won't get into this whole story, but through a gift of synchronistically and serendipitously meeting Willie Nelson's secretary, she
he has a secretary.
he did then, and she found out who I was and what I wanted to do and why I wanted to do it, and she grabs a VIP uh, entry thing for me to get behind the scenes at the Farm Aid concert.
Wow.
And okay, so that was beautiful. However, I got to see Dick Clark, which is a few feet. Here is Dick Clark, Mr. Teenage America, who had deep integrity. He was one of the producers for years of Farm
Mm,
Aid. He didn't have to do that. And this Philadelphia or Pittsburgh boy, who probably never spent much time on a farm, had all of this passion to give to small farmers and minority farmers and to work
Mm.
for truth and justice. And that changed my view of who Dick Clark is. And it's like, yes, these are people that are highly visible in the world and have a beautiful sense of integrity and passion for the soul of who we are as humans. So that's my projection and connection to if this were my dream about Dick Clark and Kelly Sullivan Walden.
Oh my God. This you're touching my soul
Hmm.
so deeply. Um, I there's so many things I want to say, but one little piece is at one dream conference. I was walking through at one of the IASD conferences, and one of the I'm not going to say who it was, but it was one of the very, very, very respected members of IASD. He's on the other side now, but he walked by me and he said, "Ugh, you look like a morning dream, like a morning newscaster that is just like it was like
Mhm,
he spat it. Like, what are you doing here? Like, you
mhm,
don't belong here."
mhm,
And I remember I said, "Excuse me? Did I
mhm,
really want to hear what
mhm,
you just said because I don't I think I heard what you said, but and he reiterated and I'm like, "Oh,
mhm,
okay. Well," so I kind of just did what I have done my whole life, which was played it off like it was fine and but it grabbed me and it hit
mhm.
that same button from when I was 11 and 12. And
Right.
it was interesting that there was a morning dream group. I think it was the next day. I had had a nightmare the night that night, and I brought it to I was in one of the morning dream groups and I was in the midst of sharing this dream. I don't think he saw me, but he came in and the only available seat in this intimate group was right next to me. And he sat there and he was like, oh. But everyone in the group was crying along with me about this very intense. I don't remember the
Mhm,
dream, but I remember there were
mhm,
guns and it was
mhm,
really
mhm,
harsh. And by the end of it, he I can't remember what he said and if he's but he there was some kind of acknowledgement like, oh, maybe you're not as fluffy as I thought you were or something. But I know that this is what I work with. This is one of the wounds, and it's not the worst wound, it's not the biggest wound, but it is a wound that
mhm,
as you were saying that, and even
mhm,
the idea that Jeremy Taylor
mhm,
would see that there's a real person under that
mhm,
that
mhm,
I that just touches me so deeply because
mhm,
I he is on a pedestal as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
mhm,
the Jeremy Taylor aspect of self, but still that me it's very, very meaningful.
mhm,
And you too, who and Billy, if Billy is will ever watch this, and
mhm,
I mean, there's just deep respect
mhm,
for you all. I mean, you're
mhm,
I could just go on and on. And so to be kind of witnessed from more of a 360 perspective than what I've been with what I've experienced in the past. It's very healing and I've been guilty of it too. I
mhm,
judge,
mhm, mhm.
I profile people.
Right.
I do
We project all the
we
time onto
project
others. Yes, yes.
all the
And
time.
that person at that conference was, if it were me, was projecting onto me.
Yeah,
And it was not about me, it was about him. And
absolutely.
and yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
And I want to say this just as a little piece.
mhm, mhm,
And I said those things to you, Royce, and what I remember standing in my kitchen making breakfast and talking to you, I just remember there was this handful of ingredients that you that you brought into your book, because I get a lot of books sent to me because I'm a
Mhm.
host. I'm sure you guys get, I mean, as hosts, people send their books, and I read a lot of books. And a lot of those, I think anybody who finishes a book, my hat's off to them. It's not an easy feat.
Mhm.
But you had the rare blend of putting in deep wisdom and deep vulnerability. And it wasn't just your vulnerability, but it was your wisdom. And then as you're taking us on this trail at the same time, I mean, it was just extraordinary. And I really do hope. I mean, I learned so many things that I didn't know before, and I think I know a few things. And so
Yeah.
it would like it covered the full palette.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really want people to read your book,
Yeah.
and
Thank
I
you.
found it extraordinary, and I'm so glad that that meant something to you. The boomerang of this is just so
Mhm.
beautiful. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I want to say that in relation to Billy, Billy is the one who lifted this quote up from Jeremy.
Mm,
And so, these beautiful conversations have happened.
mm,
And this is about this blessing that I see you acknowledge from Jeremy. And this is like, yes, Kelly has this presence of being, as in this dream of calming and healing
mm.
others, comes from the core.
Thank you.
I just want to insert a tiny little piece from the Dick Clark dream. I have it in I have it pulled up, and
Oh,
in
good.
in the dream, um, his thumbs went up like this. That's why I did that at the beginning of our conversation. And he
Oh, I
said
forgot about that.
to me, the dreamer, "Okay, you've made it. I'm a symbol of success." And this
Wow. I
whole
remember
thing
that now.
and
Yes.
this whole
Yeah.
thing has been how
Mhm.
we, Royce and I, see Kelly as, the
Mhm.
dream
Mhm.
woman,
Oh
Mhm.
my God.
and super beautiful, and this
Mhm. Mhm.
podcast show host and
Mhm.
author of so many novels and books and oracle
Mhm.
cards. And wow, you're the
Mhm.
epitome.
Mhm.
And then to have you send your commentary of Joyce's book, it was just so touching.
Mhm.
So, and to have you as a guest again, it's also so touching. So we just admire and adore you so much. Just know that.
Oh,
this
thank you.
this beautiful part of the dream of success, and that is what integrity is all about. It is this inner and outer expression of I am who I am. Success.
The innie and the outie.
Yes.
There you go. Yes.
Thank you for letting us prolong this conversation.
Oh
Uh,
my God, I'm so honored. The only thing that would make it more sweet is if Viviana would play a little flute for us to
Oh,
Viviana,
flute us out.
she happens to have.
Oh,
Ooh.
just so happened. Well,
but
then, okay, this is a perfect way to
but
arbitrarily
I don't know
conclude this.
if the sound is good, but let's see. Can you hear this?
Mhm.
Oh my God, parsley, sage, rosemary, and
Yes.
thyme.
Yes.
Oh,
That
that was
was
so
beautiful.
sweet. Oh my God, you're so good. You're inspiration and
Mm.
inhale in that. Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you. That was such a treasure. Thank you so much, you two.
Thank you.
Sweet dreams.